Good afternoon and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples on this incredibly beautiful Monday in March 2020. I welcome you virtually. The sanctuary feels very empty without you, but it's good to know that you're there, either now listening in person, online, or when you tap into this recording at some point this week. We hope you enjoy. We hope it gives you an opportunity to take a deep breath and relax and be with us together in spirit, if not in body. Our congregational buildings are closed completely. We are being very careful about that. Both the buildings and the pavilion are pretty much off limits, except for a few exceptions, of which this is one, but also so that the building can be maintained and that folks who need to come to repair or clean can do that. The annual meeting, which will take place on Sunday, March 29th, this coming Sunday, will happen after our service, our stream service at 11 o'clock in the morning. So we hope that you'll set aside that time. It's very important. We need at least 87 of you, that would be a quorum, to listen either to the streamed presentations or to a recorded presentation. And then over the next couple of days after Sunday to vote via SurveyMonkey on the issues at hand. They will be our slate of new candidates for the Board of Trustees and the Endowment Board, as well as some bylaw changes that will need to be made by the end of the year. We will also vote on our annual operating budget. All of those things will be explained to you carefully in coming emails and also next Sunday morning. But it's important that you set aside that time. As members of this congregation, we absolutely need to get a quorum to pass a budget and to elect our new board. So please do set aside that time. The congregation feels, as I said at the beginning, very quiet, but I'm very, very grateful to the Board of Trustees for the work that they've been doing, especially the Facilities Committee and Kathy Gorski for creating a policy about building usage during this time of coronavirus. They've done exceptional work, very detailed work, and also in preparing for the annual meeting. So let's make their efforts worthwhile and follow our instructions and be together as a congregation that way. I especially also want to thank Bob Mouchette for his work on the audiovisual portion of our stream services and for his work this coming Sunday. And today for Ann Roberts for playing for us. Ann was going to play on this Sunday, yesterday, and we were grateful that she was still willing to do so. So we'll enjoy Ann's talents this morning in the usual spots. So welcome. I'm glad to be here with you. I hope that your day has gone well this Monday. We're sorry about our technical difficulties yesterday, but all will be well. And so I'd like you to take a deep breath. We'll be breathing a little bit later too, but take a deep breath and let's settle together into our time of worship on this Monday afternoon. Our prelude this morning by Debussy. Our chalice lighting words today are from, or at least attributed to the Kalidasa, a 5th century Hindu Sanskrit poet and dramatist. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Please join me in the chalice lighting words on your screen. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the unity we seek. So we have a time for all ages today. I hope there'll be a few of our young students out there watching at some point this week. This story comes to us from the Osage Nation, one of our Native American tribes. The Osage people originated in the Ohio and Mississippi Valley in about the 7th century BCE, and then maybe 1,400 years later migrated across the Mississippi into the valleys of the Missouri. From the earliest days, the Osage people were divided into 2 groups, the Sky people and the Earth people. The 9 clans of the Sky people usually lived to the north, and the 15 clans of the Earth people lived to the south. Each clan had a number of different animals and totems they looked for guidance. And one of these clans of the Earth people was called the isolated Earth people. This is true. And one of their most important symbols was the spider, is the spider. And this is the story of how that came to be. One day, the chief of the isolated Earth people was hunting in the forest, but he wasn't just hunting for game. He was also hunting for a symbol to give life and strength to his people, some great and powerful animal that would show itself to him and teach him an important lesson. As he hunted, he came across the tracks of a great deer, a stag. The chief became very excited, and he said to himself, "Grandfather deer, surely you are going to show yourself. You're going to teach me a lesson and become one of the symbols of my people." So the chief began to follow the deer tracks. His eyes were on nothing else as he followed the tracks and went faster and farther into the forest. And suddenly, the chief ran right into a huge spider's web that had been strung across the trees on the trail. It was so large and strong that it covered his eyes and made him stumble. When he got back to his feet, he was very angry, so he struck out at the spider that he could see there, which was sitting at the edge of the web, and the spider scurried out of harm's way and then spoke to the chief. "Grandson," the spider said, "why do you run through the woods looking at nothing but the ground? Why do you act as if you were blind?" The chief felt foolish, but he felt he had to answer the spider. "I was following the tracks of a great deer," he said. "I'm seeking a symbol to give life and strength to my people." "I can be such a symbol," said the spider. "How could you give strength to my people?" said the chief. "You're small and weak. I didn't even see you as I followed the great deer tracks." "Grandson," said the spider, "look upon me. I am patient. I watch and I wait. I take care to see where to put my web. I take care to weave it. And then again, I watch and I wait. Then all things come to me. If your people learn this lesson, they will be strong indeed. The chief thought about the spider's words and saw that it was so. And so the spider became one of the symbols of the great Osage people. This is normally a time when I have the opportunity to get my Sunday morning exercise by walking around the sanctuary with a microphone and hearing your words of joy or sorrow. Each of us, especially at this time, carry anxiety and concern for people close to us or people in general who are suffering from the virus or from the effects of the virus, both health-wise and from the economic impact. So let us all together hold in our hearts and minds everyone on the front lines of this pandemic, those who have contracted the virus, those who are helping them heal, families who have lost loved ones, individuals and families who will suffer economic hardship because of the measures that we need to take to keep everyone safe. So let's just take a minute in silence and breathing together and considering each other there in front of your computers across Southwest Florida. Those of our congregation who have already headed north and who are safe in their homes there. All of us who watch and wait and worry. Let's just take a moment together in silence. Amen. Yesterday, when we had our technical difficulties, I sent an email out and shared with you all who had a chance to look at it the meditation I was going to use yesterday. And I thought about replacing it, but I think it's so powerful and so meaningful in this time and so timely that I do want to share it again this afternoon. The poem comes to us from Father Richard Hendrick, Capuchin Franciscan friar and father working in Ireland. This poem is entitled Lockdown. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there's panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that in a hotel in the west of Ireland, they're offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading her flyers with her number throughout the neighborhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and remember that, yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there's even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how you live now. Today, breathe. Listen behind the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing. One of my first exposures to Kurt Vonnegut was a very strange novel he wrote in 1963 called Cat's Cradle, a satirical look at humanity and politics and religion. In the Cat's Cradle, there was this short section. In the beginning, God created the earth, and God looked upon it in God's cosmic loneliness. And God said, "Let us make living creatures out of mud, so the mud can see what we have done." And God created every living creature that now moveth, and one was human beings. Mud as human alone could speak. And God leaned close to mud as human as it sat up, looked around, and spoke. Human blinked. "What is the purpose of all this?" This human asked politely. "Everything must have a purpose?" asked God. "Certainly," said the human. "Then I leave it to you to think of one for all of this," said God. And God went away. We have an opportunity, whether it is Sunday morning or Monday afternoon or any time you watch this service, even if it's 3 weeks down the road, to make a donation to our congregation and the life and the wonder and the love that exists here. We hope you'll do so. We will continue to be and to grow organically and to think about the moment and the future, to wonder at our past, to think about all those people who have gone before us and built this incredible place. But not only the place, but the congregation, the people, the Spirit. So right now, and whenever you hear this message, you take a few moments of wonderful music for you to perhaps go to our website, if you can open up another browser page, or to remember or make a note to go to our homepage afterwards and click the donate button. Or if you would, during this time when we can't meet in person, to create a special place at home where you will put your weekly offering, your plate offering. And when it's time to come back together and joyful celebration here, you'll bring that offering to the congregation. So for the ongoing love and mission of this wonderful congregation, the mornings, the afternoons offering will be gratefully received. So we sit up and we blink and we look around and we wonder what the meaning of all this is. And if you have an answer, then please let me know. We are a meaning-making creature. And we try to find purpose in everything, and that's a good thing. I think we continue to move forward, we continue to live our lives with a sense of purpose, and that gives us health and strength. But given the news that we're faced with these days, it's hard to find a positive meaning in any of it. If you listen to the news too much, then you can pretty much very easily sink into both an overwhelming sense of burden for what the world might be encountering, but also perhaps some depression, a lack of purpose, wondering what you can do. And in reality, anything I say or offer in this service or any other service pales in comparison to really the only answer, which is love. To continue to reach out to one another in love and to continue to hold our family and our friends and our congregation in love and to stay in touch, to be together in whatever way we can. Occasionally, as you listen to the news, one of the folks on the screen will say, "This really is an interesting time, and perhaps," a big emphasis on the perhaps, "an opportunity for us to stop and take stock." Those on the front lines don't have time to stop and take stock. They are working hard. Those who are concerned or even now feeling the economic effects are not in a position to stop and take stock. They need to do what they need to do. The rest of us need to express our sincere concern in whatever way we can through letters and through our phone calls. But we can stop and consider our own relationships to one another and our own relationship to the earth, our own relationship to time. For more than 30 years now, experts have predicting that viruses like the coronavirus are one of the possible effects of climate change. And certainly what we're seeing today, if that's true, is a significant warning for us. How do we confront this personally? How do we stop and take stock? It's not easy. One of the things that is fundamentally true is that past, present, and future all exist in one place, and that's in our minds. We project forward and think about a future that hasn't happened yet. We reflect back on all our regrets and can't do anything about them. And what we have is left is just the present. And they're all right here in our brains. All this year we've been studying the world's great religions, and in very, very small slices have tried to understand the essence of the teachings. In almost every tradition you can find a story or a lesson or even a great emphasis on being present in the moment. Muslims are taught to be present for Allah in every moment and not to dwell extensively on past or future. In the book of Matthew, Jesus says to his disciples, "Don't worry at all then about tomorrow. Tomorrow can take care of itself. One day's troubles is enough for one day." 2,500 years ago, in the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. In the 2nd century A.D., Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Objective judgment now, at this very moment. Unselfish action now, at this very moment. Willing acceptance now, at this very moment. Of all external events, that is all you need." In the Bhaddakarata Sutta, the Buddha taught, "You shouldn't chase after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is yet unreached. Whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there. Right there." Finally, my last example. In a journal entry from April of 1859, Unitarian transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau wrote, "You must live in the present. Launch yourself on every wave. Find your eternity in each moment." We hear these words, we understand them, and yet it is so hard to live them. It seems to be our nature to dwell on regrets for our past actions, or to be anxious about what the future might hold. Or like Vonnegut's "Mud is Human," to try and build some meaning out of our experiences where meaning doesn't always exist. I'm not sure this has always been true over the millennia of human evolution, but certainly by the time the axial age rolled around about 2,600 years ago, the great wisdom traditions were teaching us not to get stuck in the past or go too far ahead of ourselves in worrying about the future. And the reason that these lessons are still being taught is exactly that they're so difficult for us. Life and human nature always have a way of interrupting our intention to take a moment in each day and try to take each day as it comes. There certainly aren't too many people in the world who could have ever envisioned this moment in time. And so certainly no one would wish it upon the world. But in this case, life has interrupted our practice of busyness. And now we are presented with an opportunity, if we can be present, to learn and live in this moment, to face our fears and our anxieties, and to do that through our love for this earth, for these people that we know and care for. And I don't mean by being present these days by watching the TV every possible minute or listening to the radio to find out what the latest news is. The news will find you when it needs to. Now is the time to take for the world and for yourself. How many of us have ever made New Year's resolutions about wanting to change our relationship with time, have more time, to love our family better? And while we can't do that in person now, there's certainly other ways. I can tell you that each and every member of the staff here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples has said at one time or another that they sort of wish the calendar would just stop so they could get all their work done and catch their breath. And I no doubt that many have expressed the same wish. As we consider those who are struggling now, how do we face this moment? How do we take that deep breath and find time to reflect on our relationships. I'm no great wise person, but I can tell you that meditation does wonders. And I know that many of you will say, oh, I tried that, I can't do it, I can't sit still. Well, in fact, that's the practice of meditation. Nobody's perfect at it. If you think there's a row upon row of Buddhist monks sitting in a temple somewhere, totally without thoughts going through their brain, then I'm afraid you have the wrong impression. Meditation is a practice. It's not ever perfected. But here, let me walk you through it a little bit. First chance you get, even if it's right this moment and you walk away from the computer screen, go outside onto your patio or open a window, get some fresh air, and listen. Listen to the sounds you hear. Be aware of sounds that are nearby or distant. Just listen. Perhaps you could just feel the wind or the air movement on your face. That's enough too. Just feel that. And just stand there or sit and let that air flow or those sounds come. Can you hear a bird song on the breeze? Now, how long can you stay in that moment, listening and feeling, without reverting back to the busy mind of, oh, I need to do this or I need to do that? The monkey brain, as it's called. Probably not long. I can't hold that for very long. But instead of breaking away and moving back in anxiety toward what you think you need to do, stop and stay and listen again and bring yourself back to that moment of hearing or feeling. That is the practice of meditation. And the more you practice it, bringing yourself back to the moment, whether it's listening to the sounds around you or feeling your breath go in and out in breath meditation or your heartbeat, that's the practice of meditation. And it's quite powerful if you stay with it, because if you can bring yourself back to the moment in those times, then you are more likely to be able to bring yourself back to the moment when it's really important in your life. And instead of saying something perhaps in a moment that's offhanded, you can center yourself in that moment and offer words of kindness or thoughtfulness. It's a start in this time when we need to learn how to stop, to be in the moment, and to be with each other. That's my only other thought for you today, as you are finding ways to connect, whether the person lives with you or whether you're reaching across the phone lines or the video chat lines or whatever. Find ways to be more present with those you're communicating with. Ask questions that are perhaps beyond the ordinary. Go deeper into those relationships. This is your chance. Our brains are hardwired for problem solving. And while so many others are trying to solve the problem of this coronavirus, we have an opportunity to support them through our contributions and through our connectedness by being one, by listening, by watching and waiting, by responding to the calls for what we should do. And right now, that is mostly to stay put and stay out of harm's way and keep ourselves out of the harm's way of others. In the next few days, I'll be sending out a short list of agencies locally who are very proficient already at helping individuals in times of need, who offer direct support, financial support, when people come and ask. And they will be welcoming your contributions, I think, over the coming weeks and months. I'll also mention, too, that within our own structure, the minister, whoever he or she is, and it currently is yours truly, has a discretionary fund to draw from in order to help people in need. And that fund is not part of our operating budget. It's part of the generous donations of our members and friends. So I will send out information about all those things, and I hope as you sit and you have the wherewithal that you will be generous in supporting and sharing the wealth within this congregation and without. We sometimes look around us and think that everyone's in the same boat, but we have members of our congregation who, in times like these, are certainly put on the edge. So we hope you'll consider that. Let me close with these words from George Kimmick Beach. Spirit of life and love, remind us that everything begins on the verge of awareness. The dawn is not and then is. Sleep is and then is not. In between is the awakening. The passage of thin light between breaks open the day. The passage of thin sound of bird song between flows into the day. Bird song lifts to greet the morning. Too soon the numbing rumble of traffic swells. The day glares. May we all let the soft haze hang again across the row of morning. Wait upon the narrow moment, the first awareness of being in between. Let us listen for the birds and live our days and seasons on the thin edge of dawn, and praise that every single thing begins now. My benediction for these times, at least so far, are these words from Jamie Twarkowski. Conversations will not be canceled. Relationships will not be canceled. Love will not be canceled. Songs will not be canceled. Reading will not be canceled. Self-care will not be canceled. Hope will not be canceled. May we lean into all the good stuff that remains. We will be in touch. Have a wonderful day.